All right, this is a quick review of World War I, a new kind of warfare, which is the information you covered yesterday. I want to remind you of some of that information, and then you'll do a deeper investigation into the new technology today on Wednesday. Make sure you've got your volume up so you can hear every word that I say. One of the new technologies was the tank. This is a British Mark V. You can see how awesome this kind of technology is. It can carry lots of soldiers, it's durable, nearly indestructible, and it can climb over really big obstacles. Here's another really cool photograph of a technology, the machine gun and gas masks. And it's a creepy photo, but it's also really interesting. If you look really closely up in the top left, there's this canister. And really, you have to look really closely to notice this. Are you close? Ah! Happy April Fool's Day, everybody. Got 'em. All right, back to our review. One of the questions you answered yesterday was this one. Name 3 changes in warfare during World War I. You did really well on this question overall. We've got tanks, as you saw right here. We saw new airplanes, submarines, also known as U-boats, chemical gases and gas masks, much better machine guns like you see here, and also fighting in trenches, which wasn't necessarily a new type of warfare, but it was a change from recent warfare, and this made for a really brutal war. We've seen this map before, but I want to kind of explain some of this. During a war, the warring powers of the warring nations need lots of supplies, and especially a war of this magnitude with so many soldiers, there's lots of weapons, clothing, food, ammunition, all kinds of supplies that are needed. Well, both the Central Powers, which are in orange here, and the Allied Powers, which are in yellow here, both sides needed lots of these supplies. And neither side was able to produce as much of these supplies as they needed. So the warring nations bought food and supplies from neutral countries. That means countries that were not in the war, including the United States and countries in South America. And so these items would be shipped across the Atlantic Ocean by merchant ships. They're called merchant. And they would be shipped across the Atlantic Ocean to arrive at these countries. Now, Germany has a big problem here. They are only accessible by the sea from their northern coast. So that means if these merchant ships want to arrive in Germany, they have to travel through either the North Sea to get to Germany or through the English Channel. Great Britain is an island, so it's really easy to get to, lots of ports. Now, both sides realize that if they can shut off the merchant shipping to their enemies, then their enemy is going to be literally starved out. So their plans for both sides is to stop the merchant ships from arriving at the ports of their enemies. So up here on this map, these little dots, or these dashes, I got them circled here, they are the British blockade. And this was how Great Britain attempted to stop Germany from getting their supplies, was by putting British ships here, so battleships and destroyers, and also these sea mines. And these sea mines were laid across the North Sea to block the German Navy from getting through. The mines would float on the surface like this, and when a ship would bump into these little toggles here, the mine would explode. So the Germans began to develop a submarine, the U-boat, that could go underneath these mines. And so when we go back to this map, all of this blue area here, this is the area of German U-boat activities. So these submarines would travel all around here, watching for the merchant ships that were going towards Great Britain and attacking them. And these submarine attacks by the German subs attacked British merchant ships to prevent them from bringing those badly needed supplies to the Allies. So, one of our questions was, why was the German Navy unable to use its surface ships? Well, the German Navy was unable to use them because Great Britain mined the North Sea, and Germans only access to the ocean. The second question was, how did Germany plan to blockade or stop them blockade those British ships? Well, they attacked them by the U-boats, sinking those merchant ships, and by threatening to sink any ship, even those from neutral countries. So, as these merchant ships were traveling over to aid Great Britain and Germany, they were under threat. Well, the Germans turned to what is called unrestricted submarine warfare, which means they attacked merchant ships, even neutral countries, to prevent them from delivering supplies to the Allies, including American ships and ships with Americans on them, including this ship. Now, this is a British ocean liner. It's basically a cruise ship. It's called the RMS Lusitania. and it was sailing from the United States to the northern part of the United Kingdom. Well, these German U-boats, the undersea boats or submarines, were traveling around, and they were looking for any merchant ships. Now, the RMS Lusitania was not a merchant ship, but it had been warned before it left the United States that the Germans would attack it if they saw it. The Germans suspected the Lusitania might have had some sort of weapons or cargo inside of it, along with these people that were just entertaining themselves or just traveling across the Atlantic Ocean. Well, in 1915, a German U-boat fired a torpedo into the hull of the Lusitania. It sunk it, and it killed nearly 1,200 people. 128 of them were actually Americans. Now, they were suspected to have some supplies, and it turns out most likely they did actually have some supplies that were going over to Great Britain. So the Germans felt justified in this, but you could imagine how angry this made the United States, and President Woodrow Wilson decided to prepare for war. Now, he didn't declare war yet, but he was deciding to prepare for war because the United States had been staying out of this war. So our other two questions were, what was the Lusitania? Well, it was this British luxury liner that was sunk by the Germans. And what promise did Germany make after the Lusitania incident? Well, after the Lusitania sunk and President Woodrow Wilson decided to prepare for war, Germany got a little bit nervous. They were afraid that the United States might enter the war. So Germany apologized. They promised not to attack merchant ships or passenger ships without warning. And instead of Germany stopping those ships of resources and supplies, now that Germany had promised not to attack American ships, what do you think the United States will do? They're going to increase that shipping. Now they know they're not going to be attacked. So the United States shipping over to the European nations increased to $3.2 billion worth of supplies coming into the Allied powers, while only about $1 million worth of supplies went to Germany. So the United States was not in this war yet. But whose side was it on? The United States had clearly picked a side. Was it the Allied powers? Was it the Central powers? It was the Allied powers. So that's our review from yesterday. Today's lesson is an individual video choice assignment. You're going to watch one of the videos that I chose on Classroom from a YouTube channel called The Great War. It's a really excellent YouTube channel with hundreds and hundreds, literally, of videos about World War I. It's really well done. You're going to choose one of those and then follow along with that assignment. Okay, thanks a lot. Good luck today, and happy April Fool's Day.